Good evening. I would like to call this meeting to order at 7:00. Welcome to the July 8th, 2024 City of Burlingame Planning Commission meeting. For all in attendance today, please note that this Planning Commission meeting is being held in person and using the Zoom webinar format. This meeting is also being live streamed on YouTube and will be uploaded to the city's website. Please note that we are not accepting remote public comment during commission meetings. We ask that the public either attend the meetings in person to comment or send an email to publiccomment@burlingame.org. Staff will be monitoring emails submitted during the meeting, which will be read at the appropriate time. The length of the emailed comment should be commensurate with the 3 minutes customarily allowed for verbal comments. Agenda item number 2, roll call. The record should note that all 7 members of the commission are present this evening. Agenda item number 3, request for AB 2249 remote participation. There are no commissioners participating remotely this evening. Agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes. We have meeting minutes to review and approve this evening from the June 24th, 2024 regular Planning Commission meeting. Do we have any comments, changes, discussions, or motions regarding the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that. Great. We have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt, seconded by Commissioner Haran. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado?
Aye, and I just wanted to state that I have reviewed the meetings before while I was gone online.
Thank you, Commissioner Camarado.
Commissioner Fuff?
What was the question?
Oh, we're voting on the minutes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry. Gosh.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Aye.
Commissioner Shores?
Aye.
Commissioner Say?
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran?
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0-0-0. Agenda item number 5, approval of the agenda. Staff, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. Any recusals this evening? No? Great. Moving on. Agenda item number 6, public comments non-agenda. Members of the public may speak about any item not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to suggest an item for future Planning Commission agenda may do so during the public comment period. The Ralph Brown Act, the state local agency open meeting law, prohibits the Planning Commission from acting on any matter that is not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on any item that is not on our agenda? No? And did we receive any public comment emails?
There were none.
Great. We'll move on to agenda item number 7, study items. There are no study items. Moving on to agenda item number 8, consent calendar. There is nothing on the consent calendar this evening. On to agenda item number 9, regular action items. Item 9A, 1588 Columbus Avenue. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear the staff report, please?
This application is for amendment to design review for proposed changes to a previously approved first and second story addition to an existing single unit dwelling. The original design review application was approved by the Planning Commission on July 10th, 2023. The approved project included a first floor addition at the rear of the house and a new 935 square foot second story. A building permit was issued on October 31st, 2023, and the project is currently under construction. The property owners would like to make exterior modifications, which include changing the exterior stucco finish from a wave stucco pattern to smooth stucco, change the garage door material from wood to steel, and increase the size of the front entry door. The applicant has provided a letter of explanation detailing all the proposed modifications to the project. This letter is included in the attachments to the staff report. That concludes my summary. If there are any questions with staff, I'm available at this time.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Staff? Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward to state your name and anything like to add about your project?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioners. So my name is Jack Shi. I'm here with Vincent Co. We would like to propose our change from a smooth wave stucco to a smooth stucco due to the points that we have in the letter. Right, the first one is just the more updated look and look and feel of the neighborhood. It just more stands out as a more allow it to be more cohesive and visually appealing to the neighborhood as well. And another thing is that it's just easier to maintain. Having this smooth stucco, it's less porous, so it's easier to wash dusts, pollutants off really easily. And then the other change that we would like to request is the garage style change. Also material change, because we're facing southeast, we get a lot of sun exposure, and having a wood door, the wood can expand and contract due to weather conditions. Having a steel door will be, have a longer longevity of the garage door. And the last one is the increased door size, right? Since we're increasing the size of the square footage and also adding another level, we thought a bigger door size will be more proportional to the home size and easier accessibility to as well. Yeah, these are the points that we have.
Great, thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I do.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yeah, on the stucco, seeing how you're not going to do the waved stucco anymore, does that mean that all of the existing stucco is being removed or smoothed over? And the entire house will be one level of finish?
Yes, that's correct. If you look at the current or the existing wave stucco, it wasn't done very properly, done really well. If you look at the garage side, right, there's like one big wave and then the other one with like small waves. And so we do want to make everything smooth, including the existing stucco.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I just have a
Commissioner Pfaff?
question. Understand that the original door, I can't remember anymore. It looked like it was, I don't know if that's molding around the original door, or was that kind of set back at an angle with a sort of a depth to it on your current door? So I understand the size difference, but I'm just noticing that was there a depth change so that the door was set back a little bit into the, I don't know, sort of a relief or flat relief? And now on your new version, you've omitted that, so it's flat. Again, if the door is, well, it's very minimal detail as far as molding. It just is flat. It's just the same plane, if that's the word, plane. Yeah. Is that correct? My interpretation is correct.
And about the depth, we're changing the width and the height.
No,
And the design is still similar
Same
as,
design,
yeah,
same
as the
shape,
same
art.
shape, same
So-
style as the old door.
Right, so the existing door sticks back from the face of the stucco, what looks to be maybe 6 inches, and then there's they can't see me, an angled stucco going to it, which provides a little bit of relief. If the door is staying in the same place, 5 or 6 inches behind, then there'll be some depth. But if you're bringing the door out to the face of stucco, it's gonna look flat.
Oh, I see.
Unless that trim is trim. Maybe we don't have any floor plans to look at.
I'm looking at it on
Oh,
on
I
Google
bet.
Earth right now. It's not trim. It is
Yeah,
it's a splayed,
Like recessed.
It's a recessed.
It's recessed back.
right. So as long as the door stays in the same place, bigger, it'll just square off the splayed stucco.
Mhm.
It'd be nicer if it was still gonna be splayed, but I could understand the bigger door.
I just want to make sure I was understanding the new proposal around the door. Thank you.
So maybe you could kind of look at that and maybe give us a little more detail. I don't know if that's possible. Just come back to us with a more detail of how the door will sit, because I know that the door currently sits like you kind of step into the doorway, right? And you've got a little bit of relief and coverage to get into the house, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So I think what we want to know is, does this door does that continue to have that relief there, or is it flush? Is it going to be flush?
Are there any other questions?
We'll come back with that.
We can work that in the motion.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think so.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, no, I have no question.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or do we receive any public comment emails? Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes each.
There were no public comment emails.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Do you have any comments and or motions?
Well, I will start. I think I remember the house from before. I remember we had, it was unclear in the beginning which, if you were going to do smooth or rough, but we all said it's got to match whatever you picked. I love rough stucco, but I get, I understand wanting to go smooth as well. The only thing I understand also wanting a larger door, but I think it's kind of a loss because I do think it's going to look very flat and plain. So I don't know about making a motion because I really don't know what to say exactly, but maybe there's some interesting molding you can do around there that will give it some depth that you're losing, because I do think the recess is really attractive on the older, your current door. Those are my comments.
Can I go and I can?
Yeah, I think so. Commissioner Schmidt?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the door needs to be in the same plane as it is now, and that needs to be set back from the face of stucco. And I would actually like to see the splay come back. The bigger door, fine, got no problems. But rebuild the angled splay of the stucco so that the relief shows up. And then we're not talking about trim anymore. We're talking about actual building, and it will be more representative of the home that is there and the home that we're hoping will be there. So, and without the floor plan, we really can't see that detail in here. So we need something that explains that you're going to do that so that then we can approve this.
I have no problems with the changes with the garage door, nor with the size of the front door or the stucco. I think I just want the detail of that front door for me.
So are we thinking of continuing or yours?
Yeah, I think the comments on the door, I definitely agree with. I also don't have any issue with the garage door. I'm not sure if I'm on board with the stucco. Looking back at the Google Street View, it did have it had a lot more pronounced textured stucco than a lot of the other homes in the area. However, taking a walk around that block, every home of that style does have some kind of texturing, and in some houses not of that style even also have texturing. So I would like to see some kind of, if this was a new project, I would like to see some kind of texturing on the stucco. It doesn't have to be the existing or anything like that, just something to help it blend in a little bit more with the existing homes of the style. I wouldn't personally be in favor of completely smooth finish, but all the other changes I'm fine with.
Well, our options are to continue and bring back, or to approve with some sort of stipulation, but then we can't review.
So I agree with Commissioner Shores on the texture. I agree that the texture that's on the home right now is maybe excessive and a little wonky. I agree with that. But as I spin around on Google Earth here, there's a couple, you're totally right that 2 or 3 of the other stucco homes here have a much lighter texture relief,
Mhm.
which I think helped make that look nice and fit in contextually. So I would be more in support of a light texture, but not a complete smooth. I think we should propose a continuance and allow the applicant to take our feedback back and update their drawings to what they truly want, and then we can make a decision then.
Makes sense to me, but I believe that requires a motion, correct? Yeah.
I make a motion that we continue.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to continue by Commissioner Schmidt, seconded by Commissioner Camarado. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Foth,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Horn,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0-0-0. Thank you very much. Next up, item 9B. 1472 Drake Avenue. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding the project? Let the record note that all commissioners have visited the project site. Can we hear the staff report, please?
This application is for design review for a new two-story single-unit dwelling and attached garage. The subject property is an interior lot that contains an existing split-level single-unit dwelling with an attached garage. The applicant proposes to demolish all existing structures on site to build a new two-story single-unit dwelling and attached garage. The new dwelling would contain 4 bedrooms. 2 parking spaces are required, one of which must be covered. 1 covered space is provided in the new garage, and 1 uncovered space is provided in the driveway. All other zoning code requirements are met. At the design review study meeting on June 24, 2023, the commission had concerns about the size of the front elevation windows, design of the proposed porch columns and roof gables, and architectural details. The applicant revised the proposed plans to address the commission's comments and has provided a response letter detailing the changes that were made. This letter is in the attachments to the staff report. That concludes my summary. If there are any questions of staff, I'm available at this time.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff?
I don't know if it's staff or the applicant. I'm not sure if there's an older or an interim rendering in here, the black and white one. It's A3.2. Maybe I'll ask them. It looks different than what they're proposing. I just was wondering what that was doing here. I can ask them.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Yes, good evening once again. My name is Debo Shodipo of Design Management Group. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to present this project before you. We tried to address all the comments you had last time. There was just one little glitch. For the front windows in front of the former living room, we made them 5 feet tall. It looks like it was the wrong rendering that made it into the presentation. So what I did was I brought, so you can see in terms of scale, that the window for the former living room is 5 feet tall.
Incorrect.
Yeah, that is incorrect.
Okay. Thank you.
So the wrong elevation has been,
We got
So-
that too.
This one's wrong.
what's it?
We did get that as well. Oh, it's wrong.
Both are wrong.
Yep.
Oh, there,
Yeah,
That's
so it's,
Right. All right.
it's,
Appreciate
so
it.
in terms of the changes, I should start with the, you talked about the treatment below the gable. And so we have treatment now that, actually, a very good comment. It echoes the ridges of the standing seam roof. So if you look at the below the gables, and you also look at the standing seam roof, there's an echo of the ridges there. Then for the columns, we made the columns larger. We took out the natural stone accents, And we also made them square because they were like shown round before. So at the first floor, we now have a stucco finish, which is different from siding that we had before at the lower level. And we have there's a very good color contrast between the lower floor and the upper floor. I think one of the things you expressed last time was that you had seen so many of this just black-white buildings and you wanted to see something different. So this combination where it's kind of like graphic charcoal and light gray and elements of white, and it seems like it's actually really, we've been able to incorporate all your comments and to really be able to come up with a project that the client really likes. And I would have to say that I'm proud of, and I'm happy with the comments that you made last. So overall, we've addressed the comments that you had.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Say.
Yes, just on the subject of kind of stucco texture from the previous project. In your rendering, you're showing looks like some kind of a stippled stucco texture. Is that the intention, or it's some other
It's like,
thought in mind?
it's kind of like a
Sanded?
stucco.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one grade above a smooth stucco. So it's not a smooth, but it's a sand stucco.
Sanded finish,
Yeah.
okay. And then the garage door materials, they weren't stipulated in the staff report. Is it like aluminum and glass?
Aluminum and glass, yeah.
Mhm. With translucent panels?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Camarado?
Can you tell me what the height is for the second floor?
The height of the second floor, or the plate height of the second floor is 8 feet. It's 9 feet on the first floor and 8 feet on the second floor.
Great.
Yes.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, great. Do we have any members of the public who are attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or did we receive any public comment emails?
I have a public comment.
Hmm.
This public comments from Rich Sargent. Dear Planning Commissioners. Dear Planning Commissioners, thank you for considering my comments on this project when it was considered as a study item. I appreciate the changes the applicant made to the project. I'd like to add additional comments to help make sure that the project is built in the way the applicant intended and the Planning Commission approved, because I think there are several details missing. First, I appreciate the applicant's commitment to divided light windows. I'm not sure what Fibrix windows are, but they appear to refer to Andersen windows, of which there are many grille types offered. The only option that matches the traditional detailing the commission has approved in the past is what Andersen calls full divided light, and the commission often refers to as simulated true divided light. Would the commission consider adding this as a condition of approval or request a sample of the specified window? Also, I would request that the front elevation include more measurement callouts to ensure what is built match what's drawn. In particular, the front door scales to 7 feet. Typically for 9 feet plate heights, the door is 8 feet and the windows have a 8 feet head height. Additionally, I would request that the 2 wide short windows on the left elevation be revisited. Wouldn't they look better as a pair of casement or awning windows? The 2x5 windows don't seem consistent with either the design or the neighborhood. Thanks considering my input, Rich.
Great. Any other public comment emails?
There are none.
Great. Then I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, do we have any comments? Motions? Commissioner Camarado?
So I think one of the things that jumped out at me were the lights, the exterior lights. I want to make sure, and I'm sure that staff will take a look at this, but we do have a code where the lights have to be angled down and not shine out. And, you know, some of these bright white lights, when they're put up, shine into the windows of other homes in the neighborhood. So, you know, I just ask that they kind of be more like soft white. If we, I don't know if we can call out that detail, but more of a soft, the original soft white instead of that bright white medical light type thing that I hate. But, and that they angle down and not out, if that's possible, so that it stays, less light pollution. So that was one of the things that I would ask.
Any other comments? Commissioner Say?
Yeah, just the fine tuning of things. I think that I believe Rich Sargent had alluded to this too, that the upper floor windows on the street facing side on the front elevation seem to be quite wide. They almost overpower the windows down in the living room. So I'm wondering if maybe a little bit of a narrower size might be better. Certainly need to meet egress, of course, but maybe take a look at that width and narrow it a little bit. Likewise, kind of proportionately, in the rendering, it looks like those knee braces, corbels are a bit small for its location, especially in its proportion to the rest of the house and the columns at the front porch. So they look like they're a little bit larger in the elevation, but there's no dimensions call out. But in the rendering, they look small. They look like they need to be 50% bigger, in my opinion. So just calling out another kind of fine tuning detail. Otherwise, I think the improvements are nice. Some definitely appreciate the attention to the gable ends and the change of finishes, and in particular also to the column detailing. Thank you.
I'll go.
Commissioner Fauci?
I agree with my fellow commissioner and commissioners, and I was trying to figure out how much overhang there was on the roof that is supposed to hold this beefier corbel. So I don't know how that goes together, but something maybe is a little off. That's true. And I very much appreciate that the applicant took the comments to heart, and this is already quite substantially better than what we had the first time. So very much appreciate that.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes, I too feel like this project has come a long way. I like the rendering you held up. The scale of the windows look better. With those front windows being a little bit shorter and a little bit more compact. I think the trim and everything and the added little headpiece makes that a lot better feature there. I think the gable end is a lot better. I agree with Commissioner Say that the corbel might be undersized in the rendering. I would recommend a 6x6 instead of a 4x4, because I think the 4x4 is going to look wimpy in that spot. The lights, we have a light regulation that you need to follow. I would you have a lot of lights, which looks great in the rendering, but you need to really consider who those are shining on. I'm more worried about the ones on the side, because oftentimes the unintended consequences that goes into somebody's bedroom, and then they don't sleep forever. So there's just, that needs to be considered with those, whereas the fronts tend to shine out to the street a little bit more and they're a little bit more forgiving, but the side ones are not forgiving because somebody's window is only a short ways away. So you need to follow the ordinance and then try to minimize the impact on. I agree with Mr. Sargent with regards to the Fibrix. I don't think I have a problem with that line of windows, but you want to make sure that that divider is attractive, not just a single line like the rendering shows. So I think that's an important detail, because those dividers are a big deal to us, and they really do, I think, add to the home. The last thing, sorry, I I think you need to make sure that the renderings align with the one that you've got in your hand, not the one in the packet. And that then they in turn align with your sheets A32 and 33, because those are even a little slightly different too. So I would say so that we have a consistent package going to building, all that stuff needs to align. So, and that may be something we can work into the motion as that staff can review, that it's hitting the one version and coordinated versus making them come back for that. So that's it for me. Sorry.
No problem.
I like the design a lot more. Definitely come a long way. I'm happy with the treatments to the gables and the posts. I wasn't really sure on the stucco first floor when I first saw the renderings, but since then they've grown on me, and I like the idea of a very light but still a little bit of texture. I think that's going to come out pretty well. I think that the addition of those divided lights is helping a lot. I just wanted to mention, I'm really personally unsure on this. There's a lot of much older homes on that street face, and a lot of them have like very small divided lights in a lot of their windows. I'm not sure right now in isolation. I think that the divided lights look good. I think that they complement the rest of the house. I'm not sure. And like really, I am. I'm interested if anyone has any opinions. If making them more traditional divided lights in any way would make the project better or worse, or if that adds any value, basically.
I have one more comment. I think that Rich Sargent mentioned was the door size,
Yeah.
the front door size. So I think his point was that it should be an 8-foot door. So I think I'd like to make sure that we have an 8-foot door for the front door.
I think to Commissioner Shore's comment, I think the trick is in the rendering, it looks great as a single line because it does fine.
Mhm.
But I think what's being asked, and I think what Rich is mentioning, is we want to make sure that that divider hits kind of the right width, because you could overdo it for sure.
Mhm.
I think the thinner line has a nice contemporary look to it, but then too thin, it goes away. So it's finding that right balance, and it's probably right a little under an inch, and they're just going to have to make sure that they use the right grid pattern from Anderson to make that work.
Can we ask for that detail when they come back? So I'd like to see that detail.
Yeah, there's typically like a 5/8 and a 7/8 or 3/4. Mhm.
There's a
I
lot
agree.
of choices.
Yeah. And profile choice as well.
Okay, do we have a motion? Sounds like we're going to continue.
I'd like to make a motion to continue this project on some of the comments that we've made, based on the comments we've made.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Camarado, seconded by Commissioner Say. Any comment, motion?
Yes, I'd like to comment on the motion.
Yes.
Again, I think all of us are saying it has come a long way and it's looking really good. There's a few details that we would like to see so that then we know that what's going to get built is what we're all talking about here, and the effort that's being put in by you and your client. And so we just want to make sure that that gets captured. So hopefully I don't see more comments. I just see us validating that you've heard the last of these comments, and we're going to get a really good project out of it. So I'm appreciative.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Foth,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Horn,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0-0-0. Do I read the after the vote statement on?
No.
There's no appeal.
Yeah. Great, thank you very much. Moving on to item 9C, 114 Bayswater Avenue. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear the staff report, please?
This application is for design review for a new two-story, single-unit dwelling and detached garage. The subject property is an interior lot that contains an existing one-story, single-unit dwelling with a detached garage. The applicant proposes to demolish all existing structures on site to build a new two-story, single-unit dwelling and detached garage. The new dwelling would contain 4 bedrooms. 2 parking spaces are required, one of which must be covered. 1 covered space is provided in the new garage, and 1 uncovered space is provided in the driveway. All other zoning code requirements are met. At the design review study meeting on June 24, 2023, the commission had concerns about the proposed window trim and size of the second-story windows at the front elevation. They also wanted the porch stoop to be raised so that it would be level with the entry door. The applicant revised the proposed plans to address the commission's comments and has provided a response letter detailing the changes that were made. This letter is in the attachments to the staff report. That concludes my summary. If there are any questions of staff, I'm available at this time.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Okay, so thank you, everyone. This is Quinn. I'm here to explain how we respond to the comments from the last planning commission. The first one, we add some trim, for the window. These trims will project 2 inches from the wall, and the upper trim will 4 inches tall, and the bottom trim will be 2 inches tall. For the entry of the front door, we did not add another step to raise the front porch. We want to create a slope for the walkway. So yeah, so now the front porch floor will be 2 inches lower than the interior floor. The question 3 is adding vents detail to the gables. We add some vents. If you can go to the elevations, we add some vents in the front and rear elevation. But in some rooms, because it's a vaulted ceiling, so we cannot add. Also, we add, wherever we have the attic. Question 3, widen the windows in the front. We increase the width of the 4 windows in the front from 30 inches to 36 inches. So question 5 is the side exterior door. We will do a wood front door with frosting glass to ensure the privacy as the neighbor requested and also raised by the commission last time. And to respond the comments from the neighbor, the first question is about the privacy of the side exterior door. Yeah, I answered this already. So the neighbor also talked about the fence. We reached out to the neighbor and talked about replacing the fence. He's okay that we can we will share the cost and replace the fence, making it as tall as possible while still complying the city's requirement. So the last question from the neighbor is about the grading. We already hired a professional civil engineer, and we already finished the civil plans. We will provide the detail plans during the building permit application. Yeah, that's all the questions we have. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I just have one. So I'm trying to see, are you widen the windows I can see on the second floor and on the right and on the lower floor on the left.
Mhm.
Are they the same size windows? All four the same size windows? Now?
Only the 4 windows in the front, because I checked the floor plan. I feel like the other windows is, it's fine to keep the.
No, I don't mean that. I mean the one with the 3 parts. I understand that's staying the same,
Huh?
fine. But I'm just saying the one on the lower left, you have 2 windows on the lower left?
Lower left.
Lower left of drawing of what we're seeing on the left
So
side.
the 2 at the lower left,
Yes.
right?
Are they the same size as the 2 on the upper floor and the right gable?
I think the lower is higher. It's a little bit higher.
It's a little taller, yeah.
Yeah, because the ceiling height of the first floor is 9 and the second floor is 8. So the first floor has a higher top plate, so we make the windows a little bit higher.
That's why they look different
Uh-huh.
a little bit.
6 inches.
It's just that 6 inches of the height, so they're 6 inches taller. The others look wider, but the ones on the top look wider than they do, less.
The
It's just,
width,
yeah.
same.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Say.
Oh, you can go.
I was just gonna ask a clarifying question about the gable then.
Mhm.
So you've added them on the side and the back, but not on the front. Was there a rationale for that?
Because we have vaulted ceiling. The second floor gable, inside the gable, it's a vaulted ceiling bedroom.
Ah, it's a vault.
Open,
Yes.
open, yeah.
Oh, I see.
You could do it forward.
Could be faux,
Could be
right?
fake,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other, Commissioner Say.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest the same thing, but by putting in false vents as a decorative element on the front elevation. They look pretty good on the rear. I think it's the rear where we see them. And I actually feel like they're a little bit small, short on the rear. And I don't know if you would consider lengthening, heightening, everything about Tudor homes is about steep roofs and tall elements and to create that sense of height. And on the rear elevation, the gable vent looks like it's a bit squat, maybe some length, a little bit taller. Skinny and tall would be a nice kind of shape to it. And if applicable on the front, it seems that it might be nice to add some false vents just as a decorative element. Understanding that you'll have vaulted ceilings.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm mentioning about?
Do you want us add some false vents for the gables?
On the front elevation, it's a nice detail and on the Tudor homes, and it seems like, up in that gable end looks fairly flat and,
Uh-huh.
realize this is a fairly modern Tudor. But I think it's a nice, element, much like how you added that window, on that one
Mhm.
on the left side there. And what was I gonna say? I wanted to also go back to the steps at the front porch.
Mhm.
I really think it's a nice detail when you can approach a home and not have to step up and over into the house.
Mhm.
And I understand you have a setback. You were mentioning that a setback issue must be that front bedroom that you're saying is at the front setback.
We raised the floor of the porch.
Mm-hmm.
Did not add another step. We just make a minor slope for the
Mm-hmm.
way, so it goes up a little bit, so we can raise the front porch floor. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
So so you're sloping the front walkway up, not the front stoop.
yes, because we don't.
Okay. That makes sense. I was just worried that would be a pretty steep slope at the
We
front
want
stoop.
a very minor slope.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I just think it's just a nice detail to be able to walk right into the house from,
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
from the front.
Love-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Questions? Question.
Questions? We're still on questions. Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? No, okay. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or did we receive any public comment emails?
No public comment emails.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to close the public hearing. Now, any comment?
I'll go.
Commissioner Schmidt?
I like the comments that were made with regards to the vent and doing the fake vent on the one side, on the right side of the front elevation. And I think the fact that you've got the window on the left side, I think you have an opportunity to match kind of in size and proportion there a vent up in the right and your other vents on the side. If you pick that same proportion, I think it's going to take that all the way around. And that proportion that you have for that window is actually in line with most of your other windows. It's not, it's a little longer and a little narrower like the rest of your windows. So I think if you stay in that kind of a proportion on that vent, I think you have an opportunity to create a really nice element in that gable end. And I think that that's what Commissioner Say is looking for there. And I think that would work well. I noticed on the elevations, some squares that are called out as lights on the exterior. And you need to make sure that you understand our lighting guidelines for the light fixtures because they need to point down and you can't point light out and annoy your neighbors. So there's a specific guideline for it. I think you should, on the side elevation, you need to look at where, especially like that door, you just put in the privacy, the film for the privacy. Well, you also have a light right outside that door, which I understand, but you also want to make sure you're not then shining into your neighbor's bedroom. Right. And building can check that before it goes in. So it's not something we need to check in on again to comply. And it is in the code. So, so those were my comments. Thank you.
Any other comments? Do we have any motions?
I'll make a motion that we approve this project with the condition that the lights meet the local ordinance and that the vent be added to the front gable end and then all three vents align in size, which I think is checkable by staff.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt, seconded by Commissioner Say. Was there any question on the motion?
Only that I think every project needs to be in compliance with the, right? So calling this out seems, that means every project we would need to call it out. It's already in the ordinance, so I'm not sure if it should be called out.
My desire in adding that is that these particular lights graphically shown today show as a square and make no effort to.
So it's like a reminder.
Yes.
Right.
I think by having it in the minutes and in the motion, staff is more likely to pass that on to building to ensure compliance downstream.
Yeah, I'm not, yeah,
Agreed with you. I should.
such a precedent that, yeah.
I think in these two cases, because what was rendered or shown are more like lantern type fixtures, which is what leads to that comment or clarification. Because the ones at the front are also lanterns in this project, but the ones on the side look like they might be solid. It said painted
Painted.
black matte fixtures. They're probably square blocks,
Right.
which are probably just downcast or upcast, but the front ones are lantern shaped.
And if it would be helpful, staff can confirm that they do meet the
Right.
the code ordinance. So it doesn't
Or bring
be
it
part of
back to
motion.
this.
Yep.
But I do want it so that somebody is checking.
So you can certainly direct staff to check that. But as Commissioner Harriman said, we can exclude it from the motion if that makes it easier as well.
Doesn't matter to me either way.
Either way. Just don't want to have to say that every single time.
Yeah.
All right.
While we're commenting, it also might be worth clarifying that the vents don't have to be functional. They're added,
No.
if they are or not.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. False fence.
Okay, great. Well, after all that, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Camerata,
Aye.
Commissioner Foff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Horn,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. That motion passes 7-0-0-0. An action by the planning commission is appealable to the city council within 10 days of the planning commission's action. If the planning commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the city council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $900, which includes noticing costs. Congratulations. Moving on to 9D, 1241 to 1251 Whitehorn Way. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear the staff report, please?
Sure, yes. This is an application for a conditional use permit for vehicle storage within an existing commercial building at 1241 to 1251 Whitehorn Way, zoned II. The recently constructed building at 1221 to 1251 Whitehorn Way was approved by the Planning Commission in 2021. The applicant is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to utilize 2 of the 4 tenant spaces, those with an address of 1241 to 1251 Whitehorn Way, for vehicle storage. The tenant space totals 9,901 square feet and would be used by the applicant for private vehicle storage. Depending on the size of the vehicles, the number of cars to be stored would vary between 25 and 35 cars. There's a sample parking diagram shown on sheet A1.2. There would be no vehicle sales at the site, and vehicles would not be serviced or detailed at the site. Those services would be done off-site. There are a total of 48 parking spaces provided on site. The proposed use requires 9 on-site spaces, and those are provided on site. It's anticipated that the parking demand for the proposed use will be much lower, though, given the nature of the use. The suggested conditional use permit findings are found on page 3 of the staff report. If you have any questions for staff, we can take those now, or the applicant is ready to make their presentation.
I had only a quick question. I noticed, I think I found the address. It took a while. Like, it was very strange finding this, but I couldn't understand what was written as the landscaping that supposedly exists already. It was a very small percentage, but I couldn't even find it. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, I think there was a variance approved for like 3%
The car.
landscaping. I don't have those plans in front of me.
Yeah, that's
but-
fine. Okay, he found it. I think it was hidden when I was there.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Or construction just recently was winding up, so I don't know if that's still in progress, the landscape.
Okay, it was just a question. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing. Will the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Good evening, Chair Lowenthal and honorable members of the Planning Commission. My name is Salesh Mehra. I'm representing Mr. Solomon tonight for his use permit application to store his personal car collection at this property at 1241, 1251 Whitehorn Way. Mr. Huron's staff report and attachments speak for themselves. My role tonight here is to answer any questions, should you have any, and briefly describe just the operational characteristics of this proposed use. I do want to emphasize that Mr. Solomon's car collection is very rare and valuable. There's one photo in the plans that shows some of the cars, but I'm a car guy myself, and when I asked him for some of these names, I had never heard of these cars. So they're one of 2 or one of 4, one of 12, and some of the car names, like I said, I had never even heard of. As the staff report mentions, there will be no on-site repair. There will be no storage of any additional parts or of that sort. There'll be no detailing or washing vehicles. They will simply be kept here in pristine condition. Mr. Solomon will probably use the office for writing and conducting his business, but he'll be there for 3, 4, 5 hours a day, three to 4 times a week. He may host a business meeting occasionally, but that would be the extent of the gathering that take place there. He may also host other enthusiasts and or have a small get together. But again, those will be very, very rare. This is not going to be a car club or anything of that sort. It won't be a social gathering place. This will simply be a place to store his car collection. Based on that and the findings that are contained in the staff report, I urge you to grant this use permit, and I'm also here to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I forgot to ask a staff question. Can I?
Go ahead.
So this conditional use permit will follow the this property through to in its lifetime?
That's correct, unless it gets replaced by a permitted use.
Mm.
But the conditions of approval would stay with these tenant spaces. So if Mr. Solomon's car collection leaves, there could be another car collector, as long as they follow the same conditions, it would still be able to operate here. If they wanted to change the conditions, that would come back for an amendment, or it can be replaced by a permitted use.
And they would
With the change
essentially,
to the C.
yeah, they would have to abandon the use
Mhm.
for it to go away as a right for the property for a certain amount of time, usually 6 months to a year.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Further on her question, so let's just say, this becomes a similar use, but the new folks want to have events there. So is there something I mean, I don't know if it makes a difference or not out where this is. I'm just saying, should there be something then, if that's what the board wants, the commission wants, should there be something in particular written that should be as proposed? Just no events there, et cetera, or is that completely separate than a conditional? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, there's, so in the zoning code, there's no, let's say, like limit or restriction on events.
mhm.
You could ask the applicant if they were to commit to a maximum number of events per year, you can write that in as a condition of approval. That's something that's somewhat hard to monitor, though. It'd be on a code enforcement basis, but so I mean, you could add a number. I would consult with the applicant to see if there is a reasonable number that they think they would have, or for a future user, staff would, discuss the proposed use.
Mhm.
And if they said, well, we plan to hold, monthly events or twice a month events, that's something that staff would have to consider and possibly determine that that's an intensification of use, and then
I see.
get back to you at
It
the
was
time.
that question. I mean, it's kind of way out there, but I just want to know what we get ourselves into with a conditional use. That's all.
Well, and you can look at the conditions here in the staff report that the planning commissioner action is considering, so that it doesn't go into quite as much detail as what you're talking about there, but it does make sure that, for example, the vehicles may not be displayed outdoors or in driveways, shall only apply to vehicle storage and does not include vehicle sales, repair, or detailing.
Mhm.
So those conditions would still apply to the next tenant.
Okay.
If they wanted to expand the use, they would have to come back to apply for an expansion of the conditional use permit.
Okay, thank you.
Because I can't read the conditions as fast as you. The event piece didn't bother me until I then thought, oh, we could have 50, 60 person parties and we only have 9 parking spaces, which could the party itself doesn't bother me, but if the use hasn't taken that into consideration and the parking, right? Day in, day out, Mr. Solomon's going to be the only guy parking there and he's the only guy going to be inside. Great, don't care. But if we do not have any restriction on events, whether it be Mr. Solomon or the next user taking this on, if we don't have a statement there about that, then you don't have an intensification clause. And to me, if we suddenly started having events or treating it as a museum instead of just a storage, it feels like we've underparked this area. And I do remember when we discussed this the first time, that there is some concern amongst all the businesses that share that property and that private street on parking. And so I would hate to not have put in a restriction when we should to manage that parking.
I think that's something that if you'd like to have a dialogue or ask the question of the applicant, determining whether what you're talking about would apply to the site. I mean, we can certainly limit, we can put in a conditional use permit that no events take place, but we would want to define events, kind of like you're speaking to here. Does an event require, 10 people, 20 people? We can get as specific as we want, but the more specific we get.
And I don't want to totally handicap
Yeah.
the user too. I get that. And it's not that we're being presented to that this is suddenly going to be a party space. But at the same time, I'm sympathetic to the fact that we make this conditional use. And if we don't have any requirements to it, next user can interpret this differently than Mr. Solomon. And we will have then created baggage downstream.
Understood. And I think one thing that we can keep in mind, though, is that we are doing the conditional use permit for vehicle storage. So it is not considering events. It's not considering anything that would be considered an event. It's just the vehicle storage is the use that they're requesting. Ruben, you may be able to speak a little more about what that use is, what vehicle storage entails in the code, but.
Sure. Well, I mean, as presented, it is just simply storing vehicles. It could be done commercially, or in this case, it's a private individual. But yeah, if you wanted to get a little bit more into the details, you can ask the applicant what their intention is, and then consider adding a condition of approval to limit either the size of the event, the number of events, how often they happen per year. But I think we would need a little bit more information from the applicant.
And just from a staff perspective, I'm not sure that we could even consider events based off of the definition that we have in here. So I don't think that an event would be considered vehicle storage. I think vehicle storage is vehicle storage. But if you wanted to limit the amount of people that could be parked on site, which I think was one of your concerns, that's certainly something you could try to keep into place, that not more than 10 individuals will be parked to access this facility regarding the vehicle storage at any one time.
And we would be amenable to that condition. And I, again, want to, through the chair, emphasize this is primarily, the dominant use is car storage, vehicle storage. This will not be a venue for events by any means.
And I understand that, and I would like to be invited to meet drinking too, but and I appreciate that that's not really the intent.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to make sure that we haven't created an open-ended thing that then goes misconstrued because we have an eye contact agreement
Mhm.
that isn't in the conditions of approval. So I'm trying to think of, I guess maybe it is that we put the condition that events are limited to a 10 or 9 parking space limit, which is within their use.
Well, and I hate to be going full lawyer on
I know.
you commissioners, you hate that too. I would not even say that events are allowed at this space, because right now I do not believe events are allowed. Having a private individual, a friend over to look at cars,
Right.
I think is one thing. Calling it an event, if we say that events are limited, I think we're actually giving them a right that they're not applying for at this time. So I would be careful about even saying that events are limited. I would try to cap it to the amount of people or the amount of parking that's allowed to be in the space, because I think
So, okay, then let's reverse back into that and to say that then the use should the use would not be allowed to generate more traffic than the 9 parking spaces that are allocated.
that's certainly something that
But isn't that true for any conditional use? Why is this special? Why are we thinking about this differently than any other conditional or permitted use?
I'm thinking of the fact that downstream, if it's not in writing, the next person who takes this on and says, ooh, I'm gonna put my collection in there and I'm gonna start selling tickets and having events. It's gonna maybe not get caught until it becomes an enforcement issue rather than a use issue.
I could just, unfortunately, I could see that happening to any property though. Any use that we approve that it's being applied for could be changed by the applicant and then misused or misappropriated. I don't know. I just feel like that's a never ending.
But I think that if we at least have it in there, if something comes up, then code enforcement can be called, or a neighbor could ask, what is the use? Because there's 20 cars sitting in front of this building every Friday night, right? I mean, I'm not saying that that's the intent, but at least we have it in writing, and then somebody will know and they can call the city, and then the city can say, can do a little investigation, get back to them and tell them what we've said.
I understand that. I'm not even against the idea of it. I'm just wondering, where do we stop? To what end? Like if let's pretend this isn't a car warehouse. Let's just say it's a warehouse. Who says I'm not going to do the exact same thing you're talking about with any other application?
I think it's because it's conditional use, right? Isn't that the difference? We don't do conditional use on everything. It's right. It's usually like we did one the other day with that space at 1375, right? Burlingame Avenue.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that
Yeah.
they're a little unusual, but I think,
Yeah, the Assistant City Attorney Spansdale's comment regarding, how is vehicle storage defined?
Mhm.
So it does not include any events. So we could simply,
Covered.
I think we're covered. I think if we get a complaint about lots of cars at the location, then code enforcement has enough here because the conditional use permit is approving that specific use. We have a definition. It does not include events. So I think it's covered.
Would be the
Same thing.
still not have events.
Right.
Okay.
And this,
Okay.
now the legislative history, because we've been talking about it, here that no events should be happening at this space. I think we are covered.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Boondoggle.
Do you have any other questions for the applicant before we let him go?
Oh,
Commissioner.
is there any extra security maybe required, or lighting or anything like that outside of the building for?
I don't think outside the building, aside from what was approved as part of the 2021 exterior upgrades,
Mhm.
I'm sure Mr. Solomon will install security inside the building.
Mhm.
I'm just not privy to what that is right now. The shell, the core is still under construction.
No sneaking in.
Yeah, for parties.
maybe that's why the address is so hard to find now that it's been broadcast everywhere.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Or, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or do we receive any public comment emails?
No public comment emails?
Great, thank you. Then now I'm going to close the public hearing. Do we have any further comments or motions?
Oh, I make a motion that we approve per the staff report, this conditional use permit.
I second that.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Schmidt, seconded by Commissioner Haran. Have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Camerado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
I,
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0-0-0. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any action by the planning commission is appealable to the city council within 10 days of the planning commission's action. If the planning commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the city council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $900, which includes noticing costs. All right, agenda item number 10, design review study items. There are none tonight. Moving on to agenda item number 11, commissioner reports. Are there any commissioner reports? Quiet, no. Agenda item number 12, director reports.
Let's see, from the July 1st city council meeting, Councilmember Emily Beach, as some of you may now announce that she is stepping down. as from the council. So she will not serve out her term through November. So that was her last meeting. She did a really nice proclamation, really nice, kind, supportive words from many that night. So that was really nice. Two planning related items. Well, one, we adopted the parklet use fees by resolution. So that's all done. By July 31st, businesses that need to adjust their parklets based on their frontage or who are deciding not to rebuild their parklets need to have those taken down by July 31st. Those that want to come under the new program and rebuild their parklets have until, I believe, October 31st to do that because it's a little bit more involved. Plans and an application need to be submitted and they need to be completely rebuilt. So that was done on July 1st. And then the other item that we had on July 1st were the residential impact fees. Seifel Consulting did a study on whether we should increase the residential impact fees. That was presented to the council, and the recommendation and analysis showed that it's feasible. We should be raising those fees. They haven't been raised since 2019, I think is the last time we did it. And the whole point really is to encourage on-site construction of below market units rather than developers paying the fees. So on all of our projects, we've had developers build the BMR units on site, but this just incentivizes them a little bit more to continue building them on site. So that'll come back as an ordinance probably sometime in the fall. And the only other item is you have your next meeting canceled. So have a nice break and we'll resume on August 12th, I believe it is.
Great. Well, the meeting is adjourned at 8:11 p.m.